Hello, my name is Lou,
And I'm Katie.
and you're listening to Files from the Other Side. This week, we're opening up the files on
Tombstone!
Tombstone, Arizona,
Oh, yeah.
the wild, wild west historic place of preservation. I recently went on a supernatural paranormal conference. It was Strange Escapes. It was Strange Escapes. Like I don't know how many people know about Strange Escapes, but Amy Bruni is pretty famous in the paranormal world, and she's been doing this for a while. They do the Estes Park, Colorado thing too. They go on cruises.
Okay.
Yeah, so this isn't like a one-off thing. It's happens all the time, different locations, and she just leads these group investigations, and I decided to go to the one in Tombstone.
But there's also, we can call it a conference. There was, lectures and stuff like that. This was a particular, conference that was hosted, as well as investigations done, because, you went on an investigation.
It's like an event.
Yeah.
It feels like a whole event. It's like a whole thing.
It was a whole weekend. There was a mixer. I looked, there was an itinerary and a mixer. I looked at it. I didn't get to go. I was really sad I didn't get to go because I did want to go. It was also your 30th birthday.
It was my 30th birthday. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday to you.
And happy birthday to you too, because yours will be soon. Yours is going to be so soon.
It's in a few days. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
My 6 months off of cigarettes is on Saturday.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Thank you. I can't believe I did that.
I'm going to take a hit to that.
I will take a sip of hot chocolate.
I just wanted to be a dick. I'm so sorry.
It's funny. I love you.
So I went on this Strange Escapes for my 30th birthday. That was kind of like a present to myself. Strange Escape is really what I wanted for my 30th birthday. And I can tell you that the reason why I wanted to go to Tombstone versus any other thing, because I probably will never do a Strange Escapes again, unless I'm there to present my presentation.
Oh yes.
But I went because Tombstone was the first rated R movie that my dad ever let me see. And it was a special movie that we watched every 6 months together. Me and my dad were very movie buff people in our house. So me and my dad would bond over watching really good movies, and we as a 5-year-old or I was 5 when I saw a rated R movie. I was maybe 11. But I
don't know. I saw Bring It On when I was 5. And my mom I asked my mom, I was like, how the fuck did you let me watch it? She looks at me, she was like, did you remember anything besides the cheerleading? And I was like, no, you right.
Yeah.
I didn't retain any of the dirty shit.
I remember watching Tombstone over and over again throughout my childhood, and it changing every time. Because I had learned something new that made something fall into place for me, and I was like, oh, I get this now. Because I saw it so young. I could be quoting any time between 5 or 11 years old that I seen this movie, but it was definitely my first rated R, because I remember my parents talking about it, and then they continued to talk about it throughout my childhood. Do we continue to let her watch rated R movies? They did. They were like, all right, she's a movie buff. She wants to see this shit.
If it's approved to, if it's something that your dad was like, oh, because, I think it's, 2 F-bombs. You have to say, if you say fuck twice, it's rated R automatically, which is, sometimes it's just cussing, Because I don't feel there was no tits, there was no bush, there was nothing sexual going on in Tombstone. I watched it recently.
There was a little sexual tension, but there was never full-blown, anything.
No, there's no full-blown penetration, nothing. There wasn't, it didn't happen. It was just the cussing and it wasn't gory either.
It was, I feel when I was younger, I remember
violent.
it being gorier, violent. I remember over time that being, more normalized for my brain, seeing violence in movies. But I remember at first I was why are they killing each other? I was I don't get this. It confused me why they were even fighting. And so as I grew up, I think I learned, oh, there's a reason this is happening. It's not just violence for violence sake. I think that's kind of what got plugged in over time.
There's turf wars and new. I only watched it once and I was stoned. I had to replay a bunch of different parts. And again, I was confused. I was like, who am I supposed to be rooting for? Because I feel like it's Kurt Russell, but ACAB.
Yeah. And you know what's so funny that you say that, because the entire weekend I was just sitting there like, these people are bootlickers. Like, Arizona is full of fucking bootlickers. I was like, and the people in the town too being like, they were saying a lot of stuff like vigilante justice was like a hot button term. And I was like, okay, like, what is justice then at that point? And vigilante is just a nice way of saying an outlaw that takes justice into their own hands. Yeah. And like, there is this like strange dichotomy. What I will say is, what I did learn in Tombstone while I was there was that same feeling is continued to this day, that people don't know who to support, because at the time when the OK Corral shootout happened, half the town at the time was rooting for the Earps, and then half the town was for the Outlaws. There was never a settled debate on whether or not there was support for either one, or if either was justified. It very much was a torn thing, and like to this day you can still see they talk about it. It's like, it's a torn thing. Like, there was
no consensus.
There's no consensus, which makes it murder for like murder. Like, it feels just like murder. Like, you know. And so it sucks, because, and one of the other things that I learned that I didn't understand from just the movies was that Wyatt Earp was prosecuted, or he wasn't prosecuted, he was taken to court and found innocent for the murder of these outlaws. He was actually served, like, and Doc Holliday was too, and they both got away scot-free because they were cop adjacent, essentially. And they were let off because they could prove, like, well, Wyatt was a sheriff and blah blah blah, or he was going to become a sheriff or whatever. And then Doc Holliday was just like, the thing about okay, so I have to admit, my favorite character out of all of this is Doc Holliday.
Okay, Val Kilmer just like, so I'm like, get it, because I just watched that movie last week, so I'm just
so sexy.
Not as Doc Holliday.
What? I think the only time he's hot is with Doc Holliday.
He's just so sickly for half of the movie.
I guess it's like, just his confidence.
He's the swagger, the confidence and the swagger, for sure hot. For sure. You said that, and I was just thinking about him, like, just like white face sweating, just perspiring everywhere. And I was like, no, but Val Kilmer, yes.
It's so funny, because I am not attracted to Val Kilmer outside of this movie. It's hilarious, but I mean, that could just be my gay thing.
Have you
like,
seen Willow?
Huh?
It might be your gay thing. Willow is a movie that, like a young Val Kilmer's in. I remember. I can't really remember any. I was on so much. Oh, sorry, shit. YouTube.
Okay, I can.
We were doing drugs. Me and Teddy, R.I.P. homie. We were doing drugs, and it's like, but it's like a fun fantasy, like, and it's a more young Val Kilmer.
Okay.
I feel like he was hot in it. I remember being like, this guy's hot. This guy's sufficiently hot.
Yeah, he has an interesting face. Like, he's just very cheeky.
Yeah, no, when he wasn't sweating and he was super confident, was super into it. Like, when he was robbing the place, like the first card game where you see him with his Bulgarian devil, like that, A1, super hot. But he gets so sick. He's so sickly for the whole, but I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. Well,
sorry. Doc Holliday's your favorite. Okay,
he's
Doc Holliday's
like,
your favorite.
Dude, I can't, like, reach behind me now, but I bought a Doc Holliday, like, switchblade. I've checked my bag specifically so I could take this home. I was like, I want this Doc Holliday knife, and I'm gonna leave without it, or I'm gonna leave with it because I can't not have it.
Oh my god! If they take it, they take it, but I gotta try it. Like,
yeah.
Oh my
I made it home. It's on my altar, sitting next to my dad up there. So
I was gonna say, for the ancestors.
Yeah.
Your dad probably loves it.
Yeah, I sort of like, that's sick. That's so cool. Isn't it funny? And you know how much it was? It was $12 knife. Yeah.
What?
And it's like a nice knife.
All right. Fuck yeah. Get
Whatever,
yours.
man.
Why
Yeah.
do I live in San Francisco? I don't know. Oh.
Truly, with the bootlicker and Trump signs, maybe the area of Tombstone, Arizona isn't that great either, but yes, shit's cheap.
I bet cigarettes are under $7.
You know what's funny about the cigarettes? Actually, Tombstone, I noticed people were smoking everywhere. Not inside, but like everywhere outside. There was no like congregation of smokers, and nobody really stepped that far outside of a door. I was like, damn, like, y'all just be, like, outlaws yourselves, just kind of fucking doing whatever. A lot of jaywalking. But that's okay.
Oh, wow.
Small-ass town, like, you can do that. But it was just
there's not
interesting.
the traffic, probably. I'm like, you can't even jaywalk in San Francisco anymore. There's too many fucking cars on the road. Like, you have to go to the crosswalk.
I know, yeah. I mean, that's why I do in Spokane, because I'm like, I'm not getting hit for no reason. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history about Tombstone. It was founded by this guy, Ed Schifflin, and I have a nice photo I'm going to just flip around for you. This is Ed Schifflin.
Aw, okay.
And he was this old Westerner. Yeah. He founded the city of Tombstone in 1877, and he was warned against inspecting the rocks for silver because the Chiricahua Apaches did not want settlers in the area, right? And so he was like, I found silver, staying. And so he opened up the Good Enough mine, and they mined silver for, I know, right? It's so funny.
That's the most cowboy shit ever. Good Enough mine.
Yep.
Sorry, that made me almost as happy as that guy who cursed Spokane City Hall. Nothing beats that, but good enough.
You know what's weird too is Schifflin Hall is like this building in Tombstone that like hosted the what are they called? It wasn't the Theosophical Society, it was the other one. The odd something. What are they called? The Odd Fellows, maybe?
Odd Fellows?
Yeah, was it the Odd Fellows? Like, they were it was a congregation. Schifflin Hall became a congregation of the Odd Fellows or something like that. There's, like, a plaque outside the building. But anyways,
Freemasons?
Yes, Freemasons, yes. Yes,
Freemasons.
I think it's that, actually.
I was like,
it might be
Odd
that.
Fellows is a fucking coffee chain in Seattle, I think. Or it's Odd Fellows, yeah.
I don't remember all the fucking names off the top of my head. Yeah. I think it was that. And anyway, so most of the lectures were hosted in Schifflin Hall, dedicated to Ed Schifflin. But more famously, like, Tombstone became like popular and famous for the story that was created during the time of those settlers and the mining and stuff. And it's the story of the OK Corral. And what happens is Marshal Virgil Earp and his brothers Wyatt and Morgan and their friend Doc Holliday, they shoot out the Clanton McLaury gang and kill, I think it's Billy and the McLaury brothers, dead on the street. And Virgil, Morgan, and Doc are all wounded in this. Wyatt makes it out unscathed. It is a 30-second shootout with like 30 bullets or something. That's why they say 30 bullets in 30 seconds. Because it didn't last long for these brothers to die. It was very much like a one-sided like thing. But what happens is like these outlaws were like unhappy with like how the Earps were like running things, but also like they were pimping out some stuff. Like they were kind of outlaws, like defying the laws, but it was the Wild West at the time. You know, people didn't want to follow these laws because it's like, who are you to say?
Well, our town just got incorporated. Like, yeah. I like who also. I mean, from if the movie Tombstone is any indication, the Earps were new on the scene too. Like they had just come in, and
they were
Sam Elliott becomes the fucking Sam Elliott Virgil becomes like the fucking whatever sheriff.
Yeah. They were just kind of politicians. Like they were just kind of bigwig like guys. They kind of wanted to. They liked Tombstone, so they wanted to stay there, and
they wanted the silver. They came because they heard about the silver.
And, like, it was, like, a high gambling town, too. They thought they could clean up and make money off of the stuff that the outlaws are pimping, you know, just, like, take their money for the cops. Like, there was a lot of bullshit like that going on. So you can see why years later, or even at the time and years later, there's confusion about why did that have to happen and whose side are we taking? a lot of people will take the side of the Earps because of this like blue blood American country we have. But at the same time, did these men have to die just because they were drunk and disorderly? No.
No.
No, not at all. And even further than that,
If you want to play with guns while you're drunk and disorderly, then yes, you might have to die.
Well,
but,
yeah.
Like,
that's the risk you take. Yeah.
Oh, but also half of our country was drunk until, when is it? When is temperance? Prohibition. I mean, truly, like, that was when it became illegal. That was when, like we were, motherfuckers were, beer wasn't even a thing Americans drank until the 1830s. So, fucking, I mean, everybody was a whiskey drinker until...
Yeah.
This is well after the 1830s. Never mind. Sorry.
Well, but, I was just going to say that, like, one of the things I thought the entire time was how the Apache, the Chiricahua Apache history is buried under the Tombstone history, right? That, like, this land was stewarded by different people before the settlers got there. And now because of the colonization, you wipe out a lot of people's history, and you no longer tell the story of the people who were originally there, and instead we're telling the story of these outlaws and cowboys. And I felt like when I saw a lot of the native stuff, it felt like it was for show. It didn't feel authentic. It felt like, well, I guess we have this because we're here, but we're more interested in this cowboy nonsense. And it's like, and they had a lot of stuff about Geronimo. Like Geronimo, the famous native warrior, I think he was, like a resistor. He had like some photographs in this museum in Doc Holliday's room, actually, in Doc Holliday's like house where he lived. It's the room is blocked off, but there's like a mannequin of Kate standing at the window looking out at the OK Corral fight where all the other mannequins are standing with guns. It's cool.
That's cute.
It's really cool. They let us go in after hours too. I got a cool picture. So yeah, like, that's a little bit of the history of Tombstone itself, but as far as my trip, I was sick the entire time, so that fucked me up. I thought at first that it was, like, related to me being working out and, like, my body regulating, but then after I got home, I just got hit with that airport sickness. Like, there was nothing I could do. So I've been sick for, like, 2 weeks, like, consistently, and I'm tired. I'm just tired of it. The other note is I'm a super anxious traveler, and I feel like this trip to Tombstone was like really a lot on me. Like, I just felt like because I had to take a couple planes and a couple planes back that it was like draining. So the first day Katie mentioned the mixer, I didn't go, and regrettably so. I should have gone. I wanted to go, but I literally could not. I was too sick. So I didn't go. I actually spent the first night just in bed sleeping.
Travel takes it out of you too, like, especially if you had to do multiple planes for each leg. Like, if you didn't have a direct, like, that's a lot, especially if you're an anxious, like, flyer. Like, that's a lot of anxiety, and like, not even like necessarily like in flying, but like, I have friends who are just like anxious about getting to the airport. Like, they're just like, we need to be at the airport 2 hours early, and I'm like, hour before boarding, we're fine. Like,
I'm anxious around security, and it's like, again, it's like the bootlicker disgust in me that's like, I don't want to go through this to get on a plane. Like, it's like, I should just get in a car and go. Like, I hate the checking of everything. It's just, it feels like I'm under such heavy surveillance. It makes me fucking nervous. And now that they have those like AI pictures that they take of you at the airport, they take your picture. I mean, one of the airports didn't when I left, but the second trip when I went out to smoke a cigarette and came back in, they did take my picture. So it was like, it was annoying. But so some of the lectures I did skip as well of Strange Escapes. I sat through, I think, 4 lectures. The Tombstone History lecture by Richard Estep. And that one was pretty good to give the overview, like, remind myself, like, why I'm here and what the story was. Courtney Block did a love stories, because it was Valentine's Day weekend, a love stories and paranormal research presentation. And she talked about how she was in Duke University and she had unearthed these love letters from this paranormal researcher to her lover, and they were gay, and it was hot, and I was like, oh my god, how cute. It was Rhea and Margaret, and Rhea called Margaret Buddy, and I was like, that's interesting, because they were in the 50s. It's interesting that she called her Buddy, because I'm sitting here thinking, I wonder if she had to.
My first boyfriend and I called each other buddy. That was a pet name that we would call each other. I was just thinking about that the other day. My buddy. We'd say we had other pet names too, but that was the one that we used to each other, and we would say it like in a way, like buddy, like that. Like
that's so funny. Yeah. So she showed us like these love letters, and then she talked about paranormal research, paranormal like or just like archive and like information sites you can search for paranormal stuff. A lot of good resources. Courtney Block is incredible, and yeah. So,
librarians are sexy. Let's be real.
She was so cool, and she was so friendly too. I saw Amanda Paulson's Odd Emotions and Paranormal Emotive Touchpoint Theory talk for the second time. I've seen it another time here too. It was a little bit different. She's developed it since doing it for the first time. And then I saw John Tenney's paranormal lecture, which was untitled speaking. He just spoke for an hour, no title to his lecture, just unfettered.
He's
blah,
like,
blah, blah.
I'm just gonna riff. I'm fucking John Tenney. Like, I can
That's
do
exactly
what
he
the
did.
fuck I want.
Yeah. He really was like very this is how I told him he was after I saw him after the lecture. I said, "You're giving like Tenzin Airbender energy." I was like, "You're giving such Airbender energy." And he was like, "Yeah." Cuz I asked him, I was like, "Have you ever seen Avatar: The Last Airbender?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "You're giving Tenzin, you're giving Airbender." And he was like,
"You're serving J.K. Simmons." Like sorry. The voice talent's unreal on Korra. Like J.K. Simmons plays Tenzin. I always Maria Bamford plays fucking Pema. I like was looking at the thing. I was like, I had no idea. Maria Bamford's an unbelievable voice actor. She can do all sorts of crazy voices, like that. I'm like always like, wait, that was fucking
yeah, dude. Some of these people are so talented. I see their videos on Instagram sometimes, and they're like, "I'm the voice of blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Oh my god,
wait, what? Really?
That's so cool." And then they can
like,
change their voice to be the character of something else, and it's like, in a second you can do that.
Right. What was? Oh my god. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not gonna tangent us again, but I have some Jane Krakowski shit about voice. Like she can like. She's got. I'm gonna just tangent us, I guess. She's got this cabaret album that's like live that she did, and she literally like she can do like characters' voices while singing. Like she can like. It was. I mean, it wasn't that crazy different from like what her normal one is, but like you could tell that she was like literally doing a voice while still singing, and I was like, what? The Laziest Gal in Town. Check it out, guys. It's on Spotify. It's great.
That's so cool.
After you listen to this episode. Very fun.
There you go. The highlight of my trip was having a cigarette privately one-on-one with John Tenney.
That was also my highlight of your trip.
He lit my cigarette.
Old school. Pretty girls light their own cigarettes.
It was funny because I was laughing saying that in my head when he was doing it, and I pulled away and I was like, just make sure it's lit. Just make sure you're lit.
Stop cheesing. Be cool. Be cool.
Be cool. But it was an interesting conversation because I had some questions about aliens. And so I wanted to pick his brain.
Who doesn't?
But when we were having the cigarette, and I don't want to like chuff myself up, but at the same time, when I was talking to him, it was such an authentic conversation. I was so impressed. And he told me, he's like, you know, like, I'm hoping that this younger generation of paranormal investigators takes over in doing what I do, because I'm tired of doing it, and I'm tired of being the old white man who does it. He's like, I want new, improved voices to kind of come into this space and start talking about what they know and doing it with confidence. And I was like, John Tenney, I'm not trying to take your job because I'm not a capitalist, but I will come under your wing however you want. Because I would like to learn the ropes. I would like to do what you do. I'm in for the ride. Like, I want this. And so I felt like he saw that, and like we ended up having like really great conversation. And the night I had a cigarette with him, we were at Boot Hill Cemetery, which is a cemetery where the Clanton and McLauries are buried, the guys who were shot, and a bunch of other people from Tombstone too, R.I.P. And so it was funny because we were having this just other conversation, and he had mentioned verbally like balls of light. And a second later, I look over to the horizon, and the moon has just emerged as a huge, huge moon over the mountains, over the horizon. And I was like, damn, look at the moon. And he was like, after I was just talking about balls of light. And I was like, the moon came in clutch, dude. The moon came in clutch, like, right at that moment. And it was beautiful, and I got a picture of it, too. So that was really exciting conversation, and I'm just really impressed with who John Tenney is. Because if I'm being quite frank, and I hate to admit this, like, publicly, but, like, I didn't know. Like, I was very unsure about his person. Like, I really, like, wanted to give myself the chance to meet him and see what he was about, because it's hard sometimes to get on people's content and, like, really kind of just go through all their shit and, like, keep, you know. And so I really gave him the chance to, like, meet him and see, like, how we showed up together, and it was very delightful, and it was definitely a highlight. But the second highlight was also becoming better acquainted with Courtney Block. I'd been wanting to meet her for a while. We've connected on Instagram a few times, and we sat down and we talked for like an hour when I stood outside of a lecture, because I was not feeling like sitting there and doing anything but talking to her. So I was really grateful for her during the trip too, because she was so kind to me, and we talked about a lot of stuff that mattered to me in the paranormal, like mental health and queerness, shit that she was like on board with. And I was like, oh my god, this is so fun. This is such a fun conversation to have. So those are my two highlights from the trip. Yeah. I will say that one night after I had talked about aliens with John Tenney, I had a dream about aliens that same night. I dreamt that me and Haley were, like, standing somewhere, like, kind of at the lake by my parents' house, and there's this, like, light that's, like, dodging in the sky all weird, and I'm like, hey, look, it's the aliens, and Haley's like, yeah, it's the aliens, cool. And then the dream ends, and I was like, what the fuck? But it's been reoccurring, this same dream. It's usually, like, with a different person. It's not always the same person who sees it with me, but I'll see lights in the sky. Is the pattern
the same?
The pattern's the same. Like, I'm at the lake, I see lights in the sky, and then the person goes, I don't care. Or just, like, doesn't see them with me.
Right? It feels prophetic.
Isn't that weird?
That feels... That's weird. That's strange.
It felt paranormal, because I was like, ooh, something's arising. Something's tapping into what I've been doing anyways.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's...
It felt like a sign.
It feels prophetic somehow.
Yeah. I'll keep you updated, like, on the private investigation with aliens, but they popped up when I was in Tombstone. They were like, hello, I'm in your dreams. It's like, okay.
Don't forget about us.
Yeah, they're like, you were talking to John Tenney? Okay, here we are.
Okay. We were paying attention.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Out of all of the locations that we investigated, Boot Hill Cemetery and the Good Enough Mines were my favorite locations to look around. Although the mine tour was kind of underwhelming, because we got started pretty late. I was in a bigger group full of people who couldn't really walk very well, so getting down into the mines was slower. We didn't get to investigate very much. I wondered, though, in the Good Enough Mines, if we had investigated less for ghosts and more for high strangeness, what would have happened? Because I think something else would have happened. I don't know.
Interesting.
Like, I kind of got the feeling that, like, ghosts is a given. You could pop up anywhere and kind of investigate for a ghost. But I was like, I think this might actually be a cool spot for high strangeness as well. And we were mostly getting EVP, so it wasn't anything. But Boot Hill Cemetery was fun because John Tenney just let people walk around, and I was like, cool, I get to explore however I want. The other places we investigated, the Undertaker, it was the best investigation spot. I did the Estes there, which I have a recording of, but it wasn't very good. Like, the recording was on somebody else's phone as an audio recording. And I also did some shufflemancy. I just played a song as an offering. I didn't, like, listen in or anything. I just played a song. But it was like an 1890s song or 1870s song or something like that. And it was called My Grandfather's Clock. And I felt like, if you listen to the song, there's parts where it kind of stops where the clock ticking and the song stops. And I felt, in that first time it stopped when we played it for the offering, my heart felt like it stopped.
Oh.
Yeah. I thought, like, I was like, oh. And I was like, oh, that felt weird. But the Undertaker is a place where bodies were prepared for burial or just taken care of, like, upon death. Like, if they weren't prepared for burial, sometimes, apparently, they would be given to farmers, pig farmers. If they couldn't do anything with the bodies or didn't have room for them or something. They would like go, they would take care of them. However that happened, I don't know, but the Undertaker used to be a preparation burial space, and right now it's a coffee shop. But the back room has pipes that blood dripped down when they bled these bodies out. Original piping. I know, right?
Complete with hepatitis A through Z.
Yeah, so when I did the Estes, I felt like I heard multiple voices. I heard multiple voices trying to come through and say something. So nothing was intelligible. Nothing was intelligent. At one point, I think I said, "I'm dead?" ? And yeah, so it was like I felt like people were just chiming in, and I was like trying to communicate. It was very jumbled. But it was the place where we got the most activity because one of the guests also brought a dead bell, and the dead bell was going off, answering our questions, like playing the games we were asking it to play with us. And
okay.
Yeah, it was very cool, and I have some video of that too. And the one place I didn't get to investigate because it wasn't part of the event and I didn't get the time to go there was the Birdcage Theater, which is famous for all sorts of activity. But when I was there shopping, there was this other shop lady who was like, "You should go to the Birdcage Theater because people get stuff there." And she was like, you have to go. And I was like, it was unsolicited mostly, this woman's story about ghosts at the Birdcage. But I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll go get a photo or something. But she's like, no, if you go get a photo, you need to make sure you look at your photos after. She's like, you need to make sure you're looking at those because people get photos all the time there. I was like, damn, girl. She's like trying to push me to go.
I want to go now.
So the Birdcage Theater was a place that I wish I would have investigated. I kind of regret not doing it.
We'll just go.
I was like, that's an excuse to go back.
We'll do a road trip. Like, it would be fun to go. I want to go to Lake Havasu. Like, we'll go. Like,
they also have the thing there. The thing somewhere near there. We'll have to look into it. I don't know what the thing is, but it's paranormal. And
I don't know what the thing is outside of the context of Alcatraz, because I know what the thing is in Alcatraz.
Yeah, so this is a different, I think the thing, or I think it's called the thing. I don't know, but it's like a place.
The thing is super generic for a title. Like, it would not be surprising to me in the least if Tombstone, Arizona had a different thing that was called the thing that was just like I want it to be like some kind of like oh my god.
I think it's like a monster body on display. I think it's like a weird thing. Yeah, I think it's like one of those things.
Like the Minnesota Iceman or something?
Something like that. Like, I think it's like a weird thing like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up.
Like dinosaur footprint. Oh, even if it was just that, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
Like, look at this weird print that was fossilized.
Weird, yeah. It could be somebody's like weird artwork and they were like, it's the thing.
The thing. It's Julie, do the thing. Sorry. I couldn't not. I'm going to do it 1,000,000 times during our Avatar episode later this week also.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Me too.
The OK Corral was also interesting. We got to investigate where the mannequins were like 10 feet from where the shootout is, because there's like a fence that blocks off the street. And they say, yeah, it's either where these mannequins are or 10 feet forward. And I was like, well, it's here then, where the OK Corral shootout actually happened. And we didn't traditionally investigate, but Richard Estep taught us a human pendulum experiment. And basically he had somebody like stand and he would be like, okay, sway away and indicate what's yes, and then people would sway yes, and he's like, okay, sway to make sure what's no, and it's just basically calibration. And then you stop and you're okay, center, and then they would ask questions and like the person would sway for yes or no, basically like the ghost was like moving them. And it was interesting. But like what I noticed about Richard and Adam were that they were continuing the investigations from the previous people investigating. It felt like they had questions for their investigation, and I felt like we were in on it. I didn't feel like we were investigating ourselves, which was like an interesting way to like investigate, because it would have been interesting if like I got more space to do what I wanted. But when we investigated Shiflin Hall with Adam Berry, he and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but he went under the Estes method with us, and he didn't go under any other group because I was with some ladies he knew.
Oh shit.
And he was like, I don't trust anybody else, but I'll do this with you guys. And he did an Estes method, and I caught the whole thing on my phone. Yeah, and I airdropped it to Adam Berry. I was like So I don't know what he was trying to get out of all of it, but I have it, so.
A good time.
It was pretty fun. Okay, so all of those were the good reviews. That's all the good times that were had. I do have some criticisms, I will admit.
Mm-hmm. This is...
Do you hear something?
I heard that squeaking.
She's there, or he's there. Maybe it was somebody outside.
I heard squeaking, like it sounded like something like somebody moving metal for.
No, it sounded like my cat to me, but maybe I'm just imagining things.
I'm hearing. Or we're both hearing something, and it's registered. If you know, because I was hearing
spooky
squeaking,
times.
like, yeah, you know how it would be out here. When we paranormally investigate,
Okay.
we can hear completely different things.
I guess.
And then nothing at all.
Yeah. That's the freaky part.
Why couldn't we hear anything the next day? I'm sorry. Okay, we'll discuss this.
In the video, like when you watch the video, the knocking is so faint at this point, it doesn't even sound like there's knocking anymore. Like when I tried to isolate those sounds in the video. Yeah, it's crazy.
I need to rewatch it again. Because when the last time I watched it, I could hear the knocking. Like, I could hear the knocking, but not the glimmering sound that I was hearing the first time that we were watching it. Like,
and I couldn't hear the whispering. I don't know. Anyways,
yeah, but I heard squeaking. Like, I heard something like metal on metal. Like,
weird. See, I thought that's the sound I heard, but I thought it was my cat.
No, I heard that too.
Weird.
I heard it.
After we're done with this, I'm going to my kitchen and checking shit out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it could have been like somebody was moving your like oven. You know, like if you have an oven that can be taken out. Like
even my oven door squeaks, I think.
Okay.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe somebody's trying to make some fucking dinner for you.
Cute. Thank you. So my bad reviews of Strange Escapes holistically is it was inaccessible for the most part, like both financially and for folks with disabilities. Like Tombstone itself isn't very accessible, but neither was like there was no accommodating by Strange Escapes themselves. Like I'm sure you could have asked them, but it was kind of organized in a way that it wouldn't maybe not have panned out. Like one of the a big example was like the ladies I was with couldn't get down into the mine, and when the people wanted to go down in the mine, we were only allowed 45 minutes in that whole time frame. So like we kind of got gypped if we, you know what I mean? And it's like we could have had this conversation maybe without that 45 minutes ticking already. And I just felt like it was kind of inaccessible. Like the tickets themselves were $500, not for VIP. And that's insane. That's like insane. That should not have costed that much money, especially if you're not paying for hotel or a meal. We were not fed the entire time. That seemed crazy. No water anywhere.
No
one was wearing masks. I mean, including myself. I'll out myself on that one. I should have been wearing a mask. That's probably why I got sick. But like, again, bootlickery people felt like, and then my next note is not a very diverse crowd. There was a lot of like middle-aged white people. And like if the person didn't look like a middle-aged white people, I was like, there was not like camaraderie in the sense that I feel like there was half of the crowd was there and like knew paranormal stuff, and half the crowd was like checking out paranormal stuff and didn't really care. Like I couldn't tell like where people's interests were at all, or like how interested people were. There was not a lot.
That kills me. Like I was actually just thinking about this recently. My friend, one of the Twilight movies came out on the day of my friend's like sweet 16, and I went with her to the theater to like go. It was opening fucking day, and it was a really empty theater, surprisingly. Like I think it's just not one of the big ones. Fairly empty, but there was a group of girls behind us, and I I hated those movies by this point. Like I was like, these books, I dipped out on the books. I had seen one of the movies and been like, no thank you. But it was like the third one or something like that. I forget. I think it was the third one.
Probably.
But every single time Taylor Lautner took his shirt off, I was like, yeah! Like I was like, ow, ow! Like I was getting into it. And these girls behind me, not a fucking peep. And I was like, you're also here. Like, fucking get into it. Like, don't you dare act like you're better than this or above this in any fucking way. You're also here on opening fucking day. Like,
yeah.
Like, that's the
thing you do at the Twilight movies on opening days. You scream at Taylor Lautner's shirt coming off.
Exactly. Like, you spent $500 to fucking be here. I know how much you spent to be here. Don't fucking act like you don't know what's going on. Like, don't act like you're not fucking stoked. Like, but nobody's too cool for school if you're spending a half a G on these tickets. Straight up. Like, don't, fuck you guys. Like, well, and I think be into it.
Also kind of confusing was, like, people were out for the celebrity of it. Like, and not to say again that I wasn't also, because truly, when I thought about why I was there, I was like, I am here for networking, but, like, I'm a very specific person. Like, I want to be an investigator. I want to be these people. I'm not trying to network for no reason just to be chummy. I'm trying to, like, insert myself as, like, a paranormal person. Mm-hmm. But what I felt like other people, like, kind of, like, okay, here's an example. I followed this girl on Instagram who I met. Like, we didn't exchange much information, and I just followed her because, like, we stood by Courtney Block talking to Courtney Block together. Like, and so I was like, oh, she'll probably recognize me if I follow her. I waited a few days and unfollowed her because she didn't follow me back, but she was continuously posting Tombstone stuff, and I'm like, no, I'm not about this. Like, I'm about the mutualness of this. Like, I'm not about this, like, clout chasing.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
So it was kind of, like, weird. And then also I'll just say my last like bad reviews, that maybe take it down by 50 people next time, because there was too many fucking people there. Like, I felt like we didn't, like, it would have been better had there been, like, maybe 50 less people to organize. So, and I hate to leave the bad review, but I'm like, you know, that's why I say I wouldn't pay for it again. Like, here's where I'm at as a paranormal investigator. Like, I should be on tier with these investigators. Like, I consider myself on tier with these investigators. And I'm just poor as fuck, and I am disabled, and, like, I'm neurodivergent, I'm queer. Like, I'm not offered the same opportunity, but I'm not gonna, like, I'm not gonna pretend that these barriers don't exist either. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, I am resilient against these barriers. It's like, no, these barriers fucking exist. They're hard to get past. And I still want to be here with you guys. And I felt like that showed. But, like, I was kind of butthurt, like, on that example of that girl who I followed. I was like, are people going to be like this? Because if they are, like, fuck you guys. Like, truly.
Yeah. No, the people that are like that, because it sounds like you made some other friends. Like, it sounds like you made some other really, like, that were into it, that were excited to be there, even though they were middle-aged white ladies. Like, they were still like, ooh, spoogily. And you were like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I met this group of, like, 9 ladies. I think it was like 9 of them. I don't remember off the top of my head, but they traveled together to these Strange Escapes trip, and they knew Adam Berry and Amy Bruni and John Tenney, like, had conversations with them before. They recognized each other from the previous trips. And they're like, yeah, we just do this to get together every once in a while. But they liked me because I told them it was my birthday. I was talking to John Tenney about aliens. Like, they liked the stuff I was talking about. Then they started asking about me, started liking me more. They bought me a cake pop for my birthday. It was so sweet. It was such a good treat when I got home. Shout out to those ladies, because, like, yeah, like, I will say it's kind of a catch-22. It's like you meet some good people and then some people really let you down.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So. But 4:44 on the clock, it just strokes. So I'm going to say thank you for listening to this episode of Files from the Other Side on Tombstone, Arizona. You can follow us on Instagram at Files from the Other Side. And
we'll see you on the other side. Yeah. That face was perfect. Yeah, right? Do we have anything else to plug?